You check your seedling tray in the evening and every plant is upright green and growing. You check the same tray the next morning and a third of them are lying flat on the soil surface, their stems pinched to a thread at soil level, the top still green but the plants completely dead. This is damping off. It is caused by fungal pathogens, primarily Pythium and Fusarium species, that attack the seedling stem at or just below the soil surface and destroy the vascular tissue faster than the seedling can respond. It is not caused by overwatering alone, though overwatering creates the conditions these fungi require. It is not a nutrient problem, it is a fungal infection, and once a seedling shows the collapsed stem, that plant cannot be saved. What this video covers is how to prevent it from happening in the first place, and how to stop it from spreading when it starts. The diagnostic signature of damping off is a stem that appears healthy above soil level and is completely destroyed at or just below the soil surface. The infected tissue turns dark brown or black, becomes water-soaked and soft, and collapses under the weight of the seedling above it. In some cases, the seedling falls over suddenly. In others, it simply fails to stand upright in the morning after appearing normal the previous day. A second form, called pre-emergence damping off, kills seeds and seedlings before they break the soil surface, which appears as empty cells in a tray where seeds were sown and germination was expected. Both forms are caused by the same pathogen complex and are prevented by the same protocol. Damping off requires 4 conditions simultaneously. Fungal spores present in the growing environment, which includes most unsterilized potting materials and reused trays. Saturated or consistently wet soil surface, because Pythium and Fusarium are water molds that require free moisture to germinate and spread. Warm temperatures between 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the same temperature range optimal for seedling germination, meaning the conditions you create for your seedlings are also ideal for these pathogens. And low air circulation, because still air maintains the high humidity at the soil surface that allows fungal threads to spread from cell to cell. Removing any one of these 4 conditions breaks the chain and prevents damping off. The prevention protocol targets all 4 simultaneously. The 2 most overlooked sources of damping off contamination in American home gardens. First, reused cell trays that were not sterilized between seasons. Pythium and Fusarium spores survive in soil residue trapped in cell corners and tray edges for 12 months or longer. A tray used last year that appears clean is not sterile. Rinse used trays in a solution of 1 part household bleach to 9 parts water for 5 minutes, then air dry completely before reuse. This kills Pythium and Fusarium spores reliably. Second, standard potting soil used for seed starting instead of sterile seed starting mix, which was covered in video 13. Standard potting soil contains uncomposted organic matter with active fungal communities. These communities are beneficial in an established garden bed but are the direct source of damping off pathogens in a seed starting environment. Use only certified sterile seed starting mix and new or sterilized trays. Prevention step 1 is hydrogen peroxide treatment at sowing time. Standard 3% hydrogen peroxide from any drugstore at $1 to $2 per bottle, mixed at 1 tablespoon per quart of water, produces a diluted solution that kills surface Pythium and Fusarium spores on contact without harming seeds or beneficial soil biology at this concentration. Use this solution in 2 ways. Pre-soak seeds for 5 minutes in the diluted solution before sowing, which kills any surface spores on the seed coat. And use the same solution as your first watering after sowing, applying it with a spray bottle to the soil surface of each cell. Repeat the hydrogen peroxide surface spray once per week for the first 3 weeks, which are the highest risk weeks for damping off. After 3 weeks, the seedling stem has developed enough vascular tissue and surface wax to resist fungal penetration, and hydrogen peroxide treatment can be discontinued. Prevention step 2 is vermiculite top dressing at sowing time, which was also mentioned in video 13 for its germination benefits. Vermiculite has a neutral pH, drains significantly faster than seed starting mix, and does not form the surface crust that retains moisture at soil level. The surface of a cell top dressed with vermiculite dries more quickly after watering than a cell with exposed seed starting mix, which denies Pythium the persistent surface moisture it requires to germinate and spread. Apply 1/4 inch of dry vermiculite over every cell after sowing. This single step reduces damping off incidence by approximately 40% in controlled trials, according to Cornell University Extension research published in 2018. It also improves seedling emergence by preventing the surface crusting that physically impedes seedling emergence in high clay seed starting mixes. Prevention step 3 is dome removal timing and air circulation. The humidity dome that accelerates germination also creates the still, humid microclimate that Pythium thrives in. As covered in video 13, remove the dome the moment the first seedling in the tray emerges, not when most seedlings have emerged. Every hour the dome stays on after the first sprout is an hour of ideal damping off conditions for the seedlings that are most vulnerable, the ones just breaking the soil surface. After removing the dome, start the clipped fan on low immediately. The gentle air movement at the soil surface reduces the boundary layer humidity that fungal spores require to germinate and spread. In trays where damping off has started, increased air circulation is the single fastest way to slow its spread while you address the underlying moisture conditions. Prevention step 4 is exclusive use of bottom watering after the germination phase. Surface watering from above deposits water on the soil's surface and keeps it saturated for hours after each watering event. This sustained surface wetness is the primary condition that allows Pythium to germinate and spread horizontally from one infected cell to adjacent healthy cells. Bottom watering, covered in depth in video 13, keeps the root zone moist while allowing the soil surface to stay relatively dry between watering events. The surface dries within 1 to 2 hours of a bottom watering session, while the root zone remains adequately moist for 4 to 6 inches below. Switch to exclusive bottom watering the day the humidity dome comes off and maintain it throughout the entire indoor growing period. Never surface water a seedling tray once it is in the active growing phase, under grow lights. Prevention step 5 is a natural antifungal surface application that most seed starting guides in the United States do not mention. Ground cinnamon dusted lightly on the soil surface of seedling cells provides documented antifungal activity against Pythium through its active compound cinnamaldehyde. Research from Iowa State University published in 2007 confirmed antifungal efficacy of cinnamon extracts against Pythium at concentrations achievable with a light surface dusting. Use a fine mesh strainer or tea strainer to apply a thin, even layer of ground cinnamon across the surface of cells after sowing and after each subsequent watering for the first 2 weeks. The application is not a heavy coating. You want a light, visible dusting, not a thick layer that impedes seedling emergence. A $2.49 jar of ground cinnamon from any grocery store provides enough material for dozens of trays. This is the lowest cost, high-impact addition to a complete damping off prevention protocol. Despite a complete prevention protocol, damping off can still appear in a tray. It enters through contaminated water, through spores on hands or tools that touched infected soil elsewhere, or through a batch of seed starting mix with compromised sterility. When you see the first collapsed seedling in a tray, the next 2 hours determine whether you lose 2 or 3 plants or the entire tray. Damping off spreads radially outward from the initial infection point through the wet soil, connecting adjacent cells. The plants immediately surrounding the first collapsed seedling are already in the early infection stage, even if they appear upright. Every minute the tray stays in its current wet, still condition is time the fungus uses to advance to the next ring of healthy cells. The 4-step response protocol when damping off occurs. Step 1. Remove the collapsed seedling and the soil in its cell immediately, using tweezers or a small spoon. Bag it and discard it in the trash. Do not compost infected material because Pythium survives standard composting temperatures. Step 2. Apply undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide directly to the emptied cell and to the 4 immediately adjacent cells using a dropper or small syringe. Undiluted hydrogen peroxide at 3%, not the diluted solution used for prevention, provides sufficient concentration to kill active Pythium in infected soil without permanently damaging the seed starting mix chemistry. Apply enough to saturate the soil of each treated cell, approximately 1 teaspoon per cell. Step 3. Fill the emptied cell with dry vermiculite and dust dry vermiculite over the soil surface of the adjacent treated cells to begin drying the surface rapidly. Step 4. Move the fan directly beside the affected section of the tray and run it on high for 2 hours to maximize surface drying in the infection zone. The triage decision: treat or discard. Treat the tray if the infection is contained to a cluster of fewer than 5 adjacent cells, if you caught it within 24 hours of first appearance, and if the affected cells are in one zone of the tray rather than scattered throughout. Under these conditions, the four-step response protocol stops the spread in the majority of cases, and the remaining healthy seedlings complete their development normally. Discard the entire tray if the infection has spread to 10 or more cells. If the affected cells are scattered in multiple locations across the tray rather than in one cluster, or if you are seeing new collapses 48 hours after beginning the response protocol. A scattered infection means Pythium has established multiple independent spread points throughout the tray and treatment cannot outrun the spread. Starting fresh from new seed in a sterilized tray is faster and less demoralizing than watching a treatment fail over 5 days. A second natural treatment option for early-stage damping off that some gardeners prefer over hydrogen peroxide is chamomile tea. Brew 1 chamomile tea bag in 1 cup of hot water for 10 minutes. Cool to room temperature and apply to the soil surface of affected cells with a dropper. Research from the University of Rhode Island published in 2011 documented antifungal activity of chamomile extract against Pythium species through its compounds apigenin and chamazulane. Chamomile tea is gentler than hydrogen peroxide and is appropriate for early prevention top-ups and mild early-stage outbreaks where only 1 or 2 cells are affected. For an active spreading outbreak with multiple cells collapsing, use undiluted hydrogen peroxide as described in the response protocol. Both treatments are available at any grocery store for under $3. The complete prevention checklist. Before you sow, use only sterile seed starting mix, not standard potting soil. Use new trays or trays sterilized in a 1:9 bleach solution for 5 minutes. Pre-soak seeds in diluted hydrogen peroxide at 1 tablespoon per quart for 5 minutes before sowing. Use the same hydrogen peroxide solution as your first watering. Top dress every cell with 1/4 inch of dry vermiculite. After germination, remove the dome the moment the first seedling appears. Start the fan on low immediately. Switch to bottom watering only and never surface water again during the indoor phase. Apply a light cinnamon dusting to the soil surface weekly for the first 2 weeks after germination. Check the soil surface daily for the first 3 weeks and act within 2 hours of seeing the first collapsed stem. These 10 steps take less than 5 extra minutes per tray at sowing time and prevent the loss that takes weeks to grow back. If you lose a tray to damping off, the practical question is whether you have time to start again. For zones 5 through 7 in mid-March, the answer is almost always yes. Zone 5 needs transplants by May 25th, which means seeds started by March 30th still produce adequate transplants at 6 weeks of age, slightly younger than ideal but workable. Zone 6 needs transplants by May 15th, meaning seeds started by April 1st are still within the viable window. Zone 7, with an April 15th last frost, is the tightest case, but seeds started immediately after a tray loss in mid-March still produce viable transplants at 5 weeks of age for the most vigorous varieties. The emotional difficulty of losing a full tray of seedlings to damping off is real. The practical setback is 2 to 3 weeks and a second seed packet. Most standard seed packets contain 15 to 30 seeds, meaning the seeds for a second sowing are already in your collection. 2 questions for the comments. First, have you lost a tray to damping off before, and did you know at the time that it was a fungal problem rather than overwatering? The reason I ask is that most gardeners who experience damping off attribute it to overwatering and respond by watering less, which helps somewhat because it reduces surface moisture, but misses the fungal cause entirely and leaves them vulnerable to the same loss the following year. Second, which of the 5 prevention steps in this video are you adding to your protocol that you were not doing before? The most common answers tell me where the gap between what gardeners know and what they need to know is widest, which shapes every future video in this series. Week 2 of the March series is complete. Daylight saving timing, leggy seedling rescue, zone-specific seed selection, ergonomic tools, borage companion planting, the complete seed starting protocol, and now damping off prevention. These 7 videos together cover every major decision and problem that March seed starting presents in the continental United States. Week 3 begins Monday with the cold frame and row cover video, which covers how to extend your outdoor growing season by 4 to 6 weeks in both directions using materials available at any Tractor Supply or Home Depot for under $40. Link is on screen. See you Monday.